Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, with the 2019 fall and holiday season officially in gear, we're going to have a conversation today with one of our favorite guests, and she's been on quite a few times in the last 10 years.
Yes, she has.
Peggy Taphor, who is the artistic director of the well-known Temple Theater in Sanford.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how we talked about this past August, we were saying, hey, you know, we've been doing this radio show for 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So Peggy has us beat.
By a little bit.
She started the Temple Theater back in 2007, so she's got 2 to 3 years on top of us. But, you know, in the last 5 years, she's been one of the most engaging guests.
She's becoming a regular.
She's got some personality.
Yes.
Perfect for radio.
Yes.
Right? She's one of those people that we could hire to speak about any subject matter on behalf of the guests who are coming in who might not be as compelling when they speak. Even though they're passionate, it doesn't always come through.
Right.
With Peggy, we never have that problem.
No, she's a theater person.
She's also being joined today by Gavin Pamer.
Correct.
Pamer.
Yes.
And you are the marketing director.
Correct. Marketing director at Temple Theater.
Okay, so this is your first time on the show.
Yes. I'm
right.
excited to be here.
How did you hook up with Peggy?
Well, actually, Peggy and I started many years ago in a production in West Virginia of The Sound of Music. She was Maria in The Sound of Music, and I was Friedrich. I was 22 and playing a 14-year-old, and she was slightly older than me, but not much. And we've been friends and colleagues since then. And about 2015, I believe it was, I was working at a company up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that decided they no longer needed my services.
Oh.
And Peggy said, come do a show with us at the Temple. And I came down and played Uncle Fester in the Addams Family. And then consequently, a couple of years, I came back and directed and choreographed for her, played Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast and choreographed with her. And then she said, if you come down here permanently, I'll give you a full-time job. And so I jumped at the chance. And I moved to Sanford this past February.
Okay, so you probably have as good a perspective on local theater and what it means in our world today as anybody.
Absolutely. Peggy has traveled the world and been in 8 Broadway shows, and
Yeah.
I traveled the United States and Canada, and I've never worked on Broadway, but I did work with a Broadway touring company, and most of my experience as a professional actor has been in regional theater,
Okay,
and so very, very experienced with it.
That's perfect. The Temple Theater is known to a lot of people in Moore County, and yet we still have new people moving into the county all the time, and we always need to talk about the basics and about the story. And Peggy, good morning, and thanks for coming in and joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Gavin and Callie McIntyre flipped geographic areas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Callie,
Yeah, Gavin also went to Point Park.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
so Callie McIntyre graduated Pinecrest, and she just started at Point Park,
Yes.
I think about a month ago.
I graduated from Point Park, but I also was on the music staff at Point Park. So I probably,
No
if she's
kidding.
going there for theater,
She
or
is.
she's going there for theater and she's musical theater, I probably
is.
would have played for her voice lessons. But I'm here now and not there.
What a small world. What a small world. So, Peggy, you've been doing this. We started the show in 2009, but you started the Temple Theater in 2007?
Right. Yes. I came in. David Matthews, who was my predecessor, only lasted 2 years. Because as you know, theater is a full-time job.
Right.
And it was a little more than he desired. And so I came in 2007 and really at that point thought that I would stay 5 years and then go back to New York and resume my life. But obviously I fell in love with the region. I fell in love with the beautiful Temple Theater. As you said, for all of the people who have not yet visited, was built in 1925. We're actually coming up on our centennial,
Right.
which I'm really excited about. And it's a beautiful old vaudeville house. The acoustics are perfect because it has the pressed tin ceiling. And so literally the first time I walked into the Temple, it felt like home to me. It feels special in there. It's very inviting. It's very intimate. And you don't find those historical gems anymore. As Gavin said, we both have traveled extensively, and most of them had been knocked down to be a parking lot or
right.
something else. So to have this in our midst is really unique, and I've just fallen in love with the people and the area, and particularly the winters.
Right.
So I'm here.
You know, we talk a lot about in Moore County and Lee County, the changing landscape that's going on, and part of it is progress, part of it is a new demographic. But, you know, the thing that makes our area so memorable are the pieces or the areas of property that are preserved, that still represent a time period gone by, but that sort of brought up to 2020 standards. The Temple Theater is a case in point. The Sunrise Theater here in town in
Right.
Southern Pines.
The house I bought.
Yeah.
The house I bought. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I bought a 1955.
Bill's a realtor, so he
Yes.
can understand.
I bought a 1955 home, and
Yep.
we've been fixing it up and preserving the 50s aspect of it.
I just purchased a home built in 1940 a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking with you before the
yes.
show. I just came from there. We're renovating the home. We want to bring the home up to 2020 standards
Correct.
operationally.
Correct.
But spirit-wise, we want to keep everything 1940.
Right.
That's the same we're doing with our house as well.
And it's a joyful challenge.
Yes.
is what it is. Because you are keeping something preserved for the next 50 or 100 years or
yes.
whatever. It just occurred to me, the U.S. government could take a lesson from the Temple Theater, and I'll tell you why. Our debt, our national debt, does nothing but increase every year. Doesn't matter which party is in power, it just continues to escalate. If the Temple Theater was run the same way the U.S. government was run, there'd be no Temple Theater.
There, particularly, you talked about our beginnings. When the economy crashed in 2008, I had literally only been here a year and still owned my place in New York. And it was tough. And there were plenty of people at that point that said, why don't you just let it go, let it die?
Right.
And I thought long and hard about it, but I firmly believe in my soul that those historical gems deserve to be preserved. And I knew that if I shut the doors then, it would never reopen. Because a building that old, if it's derelict for even a year, the damage is irreparable. So we pushed through, and I literally begged, borrowed, and stealed from every source possible and kept it going. And I'm really proud to say that we are one of 2 theaters in this region that have operated the last 5 years with a profit. Even as a nonprofit, that's our goal.
Right.
Not carrying long-term debt. And it's been a really hard and yet exciting process. I liked your, what did you call it? A joyful challenge?
Yeah.
It's been a very joyful challenge at times, sometimes not quite as joyful.
Right.
But I'm
always a
really proud
challenge.
of where we've come. In the past decade, we've seen, as you said, the demographic is shifting. We've seen tremendous growth in our area as well as down here in Moore County. We've done a lot of investment in infrastructure, which this was my first time coming through the new roundabouts here. We've done the same thing in downtown Sanford with streetscape. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be part of that. And I think of what the culture would have missed, what the community would have missed if in 2008 everybody just went, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
I don't believe, I think we have a moral responsibility to sort of preserve what we can, do for our community what needs to be done, and accept the joyful challenges along the way.
So, Gavin, what she just said made me think about Jersey Boys. So, not the play, but remember the movie.
Yes.
At the end of the movie, Bob Gaudio said, as they had a cameo appearance, he said, I live in Tennessee now. I'm married to my beautiful wife. I love my life. I don't really care what other people think about me. I'm very happy. I love a good cigar, blah, blah, blah. And the knowledge that all of this would not have been possible without me.
True.
And that's kind of the association you have with the Temple Theater. None of it wouldn't be existing anymore if it weren't for you.
It would certainly be different. And again, I'm not quite sure what it was in my psyche that said, stick it out and make this happen in a community that I didn't know a soul when I moved here. in a region that I didn't know existed till I moved here.
Yeah.
You know, my experience in North Carolina had been, as Gavin said, touring shows. So I had been in Charlotte and Raleigh. That's it. But something drew me here and something kept me here. And I'm grateful for the challenges and I'm grateful for the successes. And I've learned a lot through failure, which is how I think we really learn.
All right.
I'd rather learn through successes, but that's not the way it works. So, yeah, I completely agree with that statement. Again, could somebody else have done it? Absolutely. Would it be the same?
No.
Absolutely not.
No. You know, the older we get, as we all leave our 30s into our 40s, you know, joke.
It's very generous.
It's really generous.
But it does become more important about the legacy that we put forth, not how much we have, but what we leave or what we give back. And you can't take all this stuff with you. So you might as well do it. And we're not keeping score because if you're in the local theater, you can attest that this is not like Wall Street. You're not out there
Correct.
trying to turn profits and be accountable to your stockholders.
And
Right.
it's interesting because I have learned the lesson quite a few times in this business about a legacy and building a legacy and then having
Right.
someone else say, oh, we no longer need your services or this and that. And I am proud about those moments in my life that I did.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons that drew me here to the temple with Peggy, because Peggy is very different. The temple would be completely different than what it is without Peggy, because I think people don't realize the amount of business sense she has on top of the artistic qualities that she has.
Right.
And it's because of her fiscal responsibility in the past couple of years that it's been surviving and it is actually in the black.
I hope our government's listening.
I hope they are, but who knows if they are.
Well, and you have to make unpopular choices.
Correct.
You have to be able to take a hit yourself.
Right.
And you have to make some sacrifices. And those are words that people don't like anymore.
No.
You know, we all want to be comfortable. We all want to retire gracefully at the beach or the mountains or whichever you prefer. And in our line of business, that's really not reality.
No.
You know, a lot of people in theater don't own anything. So I've worked with a lot of millennials this past summer, and it's sort of their generation's mindset that they don't want a house. They don't want a car.
Nope.
They don't want to keep the same job for 30 years.
Right.
For them, it's all about the now and the experience.
Right.
And honestly, in theater, that's how we've been surviving forever, because you just have to accept the jobs as they come, take the hits and the successes and the lack of work as it comes, and make your way through. And I've sort of had that freelance mentality when I got here, as well as the business sense from running a business early on in my life, that sort of was the right place at the right time to sort of get the structure right for the temple to succeed, even when I'm gone. You know, I hope to be here until I, have to get wheeled out on stage to play Ann Eller. But when my time comes, I really think I will have left it better than I found it, and that's all I can ask.
I now know why Peggy has such well-defined calves. Her muscles are her legs. It's from all the pivoting that she has to do.
is.
Exactly.
You can't. It's not a 30-year experience. It's not a cradle-to-grave thing. You've got to reinvent yourself every year, and sometimes you've got to reset your strategies.
Correct.
To keep your head above water.
Right. And as the organization grows, there are now different challenges. You know, I have help now, but now the challenge is to find the opportunity to teach everybody else what I've learned.
Correct.
Because, you get to a point in your life, as I'm sure you've experienced, where it's easier just to do it yourself than to teach somebody. But there
Right.
has to be a moment where you teach somebody
Yeah.
because you can't do it all yourself.
Right.
So that's where I'm finding myself now, which is different. Instead of having to carry everything on my shoulders, there are
Right.
now other willing shoulders, talented, successful, strategic, and now I just have to find the time to give them all that knowledge.
Okay. So before we get into the second set and before we get into the meat of the season, because we're going to be highlighting the 2019-2020 season, and it's exciting, Peggy, how does it feel to be transitionalizing into a mentor, a coach, and a pay-it-forward specialist? Because you are now working with the next generation coming up.
I think it's exciting. I think as the world changes, live theater, along with everything else, has to change. I think the exciting part is that now, I think more than ever, the world at large is more interested in seeing live theater. You know, we've seen a real resurgence in people going to Broadway shows, people going to touring productions, people supporting their regional theaters. You know, all those shows that are on TV now. So you think you can dance, so you think you can sing, so you think you can juggle, whatever they are. It's part now, I think, of our society. It's kind of come full circle, because when I was little, all little kids took a dance class.
Yeah.
You know, you just did. And then that kind of dried up for a while, and now I'm seeing that happening again.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I think it's challenging, like I mentioned, in many ways, but I'm ready. I've learned what I can learn. I have set up, you know, practices that I think work, but I'm always open to somebody else's ideas. So to get a fresh perspective, to get somebody with knowledge who can say, "Hey, why don't we try this?" As you said, I love being flexible enough to say, "Yeah, let's try it." And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you have to try to figure it out.
Yeah. We're going to come back in the second set. We're talking all about the Temple Theater's 2019-2020 season. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. We're talking all about the Temple Theater with Artistic Director Peggy Taphor and Gavin Pamer, who
yes.
is the Marketing Director, and high energy, I will say. and I understand you're going to be in a couple of the upcoming productions, which we're going to be speaking about this set. As we close the first set, Peggy, we were talking about you coaching, mentoring. You know, I always say to people these days, you know, as we get older, our eyesight decreases in its strength, but our vision always expands. We always have a much better vision.
You're so wise.
That
You're
is,
saying some
yeah.
beautiful things today, Bill,
Well,
and I need to hear it. So keep going.
So the thing that so theater is, whether it's comedy, whether it's mystery, whether it's a drama, it's an escape sometimes. The movies. But do you think, I mean, there is a relationship between the increased demand for the theater and the political environment that we live in and get bombarded with on a day-to-day basis through all of our media outlets? I mean, are people using the theater as an escape more than before?
I think absolutely. And particularly this season, I sort of planned that way.
Okay.
And probably will do the same for next season. Yeah. You know, like you said, I think we're inundated on a daily basis with negativity and contentiousness. And for me, anyway, I really need a couple hours a day. I try to work out and do my yoga in the morning, but then, like you said, to cap your day with something that's positive.
Right.
And I think bringing people together as a community, as a shared experience, to laugh, that's
right.
my favorite thing, and to be entertained. Now, you know, there are some of the shows this season that have a little darker subject matter, but I also think just having a conversation with a loved one, with a family member, with a friend, after you see something as a shared experience is important these days, because we've become so isolated with our little devices that you don't need the world, really. You can order food from your bed. You know, you can order your groceries from your bed. You can, you know, basically
right.
watch TV your entire weekend away.
Right.
For those who have weekends off. So, you know, I really tried to plan this season a little bit of something for everyone. There's something old, there's something new, but a lot of it is just come, spend 2 hours, have a wonderful shared experience with your loved ones, and then go home and talk about it.
Right.
And kind of forget about life and forget about the world for those 2 hours.
Right. You have this upcoming season, you have 7 productions?
Correct. We have 7 productions and probably 25 special events on top of that.
Yeah, and people don't always realize that you have a ton of special events in between your shows. The one night one night stand.
Yeah, but
one night occurrence.
Special events. Yeah.
Special events. That's what a one night stand. Okay, never mind. It's a special event. Okay. All right.
Our month of November is pretty
Yes,
much all
all
special
special
events.
events.
Every Friday and Saturday in November, we have either a band or a comedian or a combination thereof.
So the one-night stands are in November.
Yeah, we do a lot of
Well, we
one-night
do, but we
stands
have
in
two
November.
actually during the run of Oliver. That's
Actually,
what's
next
really
week.
next week. We have Henry Cho coming and Jimmy Keys, and they're both stand-up comics, but they do
Right.
different type of stand-up comedy. Jimmy Keys is more musical; he has musical aspect to his entertainment, and Henry Cho is the traditional stand-up comic that we have.
Right.
But that's in the middle of the run of a show, so we either have to pull the curtain down or do these things, but our curtain is gone because of
Right.
this show is so large. They're performing on the set of Oliver.
Oliver just started. I mean, you're in
It
production. You're ready to go.
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
in 2 days, actually.
2 days, yes.
So we're
Actually, one day, tomorrow.
One day, yeah. We start tomorrow.
so we're going to have the show air on Saturday. So you will already have had your opening
that's
night,
right.
and we won't say anything about it because we don't have ESP, but we know it's going to be great. But it's running from I guess this Thursday through the 29th of
Yes.
September.
Correct. The 12th through the 29th.
And Oliver is a classic. I mean, there are many generations that know Oliver.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and talk about a political statement.
Yeah.
Obviously it's Charles Dickens, who
Right.
was, in his era, a political writer. And he really deals with the caste system in England. And, back then, which sort of we're seeing again, there is no middle class. You're either po or you're rich.
Yeah.
And they literally put kids as young as 5 years old to work in the factories.
That's right.
And if you couldn't work, there was no Social Security, there was no legal aid, there was no aid of any kind. And if you were able to work but couldn't find a job, they literally developed these workhouses, which is where Oliver finds himself.
Yeah.
After his mother passes away in childbirth, basically. And so from birth, he's been raised in a workhouse where they literally would give these people, kids and adults alike, horrible menial labor jobs to keep them busy so that people wouldn't want to go to the workhouse and they would try to find work elsewhere. So it wasn't like today where you can get food stamps or something. If you wanted to eat, you had to move bricks. You had to move rocks out of a quarry manually because it was hard labor. They didn't want people on the dole, as they called it. So Oliver had a pretty rough life. Now, being that it's Charles Dickens, there are many redeeming qualities along the way. And in fact, Oliver himself is sort of the beacon of hope
Right.
and love and openness in the midst of all of this other not so nice things. So it's a great political lesson as well as spiritual lesson that even amongst, the worst situations in life, if you're authentically trying to be a decent human being, you will prevail.
So that society of Oliver Twist produced that surly character Fagin, who actually
Absolutely.
is sitting here at the table.
That's right.
He is.
Like one of the many black crows in society that feed off the weaker,
Right.
but they themselves are also oppressed, and they're
Absolutely.
the result of a negative society.
It's survive or it's
Or
the only
die.
way to, or
That
die.
was
It's
it,
survive or die, and I try to look at Fagin as the comic relief of the show, but there is a darker side to him.
Yep.
And Peggy actually gave me a note last night to not be so creepy. But there are those moments that in the show that because it is such a dark show at the point, and Oliver is that beacon of hope, that there are characters like myself who are taking advantage of an entire group of kids
Right.
for my own survival.
That's correct.
And even though I give them a place to live,
Yeah.
there is still that juxtaposition of like, well, if I can survive and have a better life because of these kids, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. It's a timely political
Oh, yes.
show, especially with our conversations about immigration.
Correct.
And it's but this is, you have a cast, you have many different age actors and actresses.
Yes, and Oliver's actually, it's the first time we've done this. We had so many young people audition. We had over 70 young people audition.
That's great.
And we chose 37 of them, I believe.
33.
33.
Yeah.
So we have 15, we have two different casts of 15 youth, and then we have 3 different Olivers. So each weekend of our 3-week run, we have a different Oliver. This opening weekend, it's Ethan Martin, who's a 10-year-old from Sanford. Next weekend, it's Noe Kangas, who's a 9-year-old from Warren County. And then the closing weekend, it'll be Jude Stumpf, who's an 11-year-old from Sanford. And each of them are very unique and very different Olivers.
Right.
So that's been kind of cool. And then we have we have 2 casts of kids from all over, literally
Sure.
Quad County area.
Right.
To be in the gang, and it's just been a joy to work with them and to see them grow. And I feel like that's what the Temple does best, is give our area young people an opportunity to work with professionals like Gavin, who's done Broadway tours and has all this wealth of knowledge.
Right.
And we have the same expectations for a 9-year-old as we do for a not 9-year-old.
Yeah, correct.
And in 3 weeks, we get a professional quality show up on the stage. They work hard. They work 6 days a week. Mm-hmm. On Saturdays, we work 8 hours. On Sundays, we work 6 hours. Every other night, we're working 6 hours a night. So these kids have to do their homework. They have to also learn their lines, learn their choreography. So it's a great experience for them. And I keep telling them theater is a sport. And since sports and theater have, sort of lapsed in recent years, as far as kids having to have PE on a daily basis,
Right.
like we did growing up, it's been eye-opening for some of them.
It's a
They're
sport.
like,
It's a
I
discipline,
can't do that.
too.
I have
Oh,
noodle
yes.
arms. I was like, well, not in 3 weeks, you won't.
Yeah. It's a discipline that they'll take with them way beyond their acting days as they grow older, no matter what profession they go into. The discipline that you get as an actor stays with you, and the courage that it takes to step out.
Correct. They're not just learning singing, dancing, and acting.
Right.
They're actually learning life skills.
That's
and
exactly
that's
right.
really what we do at the Temple.
So sort of like the graduate school department of arts, instead of in the high school, you're out there actually doing it.
Correct.
And those things stick with them long
Mm-hmm.
after some of the
Oh,
courses
yes.
that they take. They have a much more lasting impression. Mm-hmm. So you've got the run with Oliver. You've got a couple of special events going on during that run, because you can't do
Yes.
it. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From there, right in October, you take 2 weeks off and you're into
Well, actually,
Hoagie Carmichael's.
the audience takes 2 weeks,
weeks
off.
off, yeah.
We start rehearsals for Stardust
right.
Road the last week of Oliver.
Yeah.
So we actually overlap.
Wow.
And this is really exciting for us. This is a world premiere of a pre-Broadway show based on Hoagie Carmichael's music, who is the most prolific and the most recorded artist of all time. He wrote songs from the 20s through the 50s, and so that's what this show is. And we have the Broadway team of Susan Schulman and Michael Lichtenfeld, whom I met doing Little Women. They've been Tony nominated. They are fantastic. And I'm really honored that along with Lawrence Yerman, who's the musical arranger composer, they're coming to Little Old Sanford, and they're going to do this pre-Broadway workshop. Hoagie Carmichael Jr., who goes by Biz, is co-producing with me because they are really trying to market this from this production to sell not only to Broadway producers but to other regional theaters, and they're hoping to make a CD of the cast recording. I mean, this is a big deal. This is
Wow.
the biggest deal we've had at the Temple in my tenure.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. And that's from the 17th of October through the 3rd of November.
Right, so get your tickets while you can. It's live. There's a live 7-piece band on stage. There's a lot of tap dancing, and it's all beautiful Hoagie Carmichael music through the ages.
So even though the fall and autumn and holiday season is the prettiest time of the year to be here, unfortunately for you guys,
We're not going to see any of that.
You're not going to see any of it.
Not a bit.
It's going to
Not
go
a
like
leaf.
the
Yeah.
right. It's going to come and go because you guys are in your right. It's going to be so quick. We're going to come back in the third set. We want to run through some more of the productions. We want to talk a little bit more about some of the marketing things that you're doing, getting the word out to people. You have season tickets available. You have different package plans. People can go and they can cherry pick productions, or they can buy a package, and the savings are ridiculous when you compare them to a Broadway type productions.
Yeah, you can get an entire package for the price of a
One ticket.
For one ticket in Raleigh, actually, not just Broadway prices.
Oh, you're kidding, really?
Correct. Absolutely.
So that's a good way. That's a good marketing term right
yes,
there.
it is.
We'll be right back. We're talking with the Temple Theater. This is All Things Moore County.
He was at the house.
Welcome back to our final set, talking with the Temple Theater about the upcoming 2019-2020 season. Actually, as this show is on the air, Oliver just opened 2 days ago, and it's running through the 29th of September. There are going to be 7 major productions, 2019 into the spring of 2020 into April, and lots of special events. You can go online to their website, which is
templeshows.com.
Okay, and that whole lineup that we're talking about today will be there.
Everything's there, including all the special events.
So we had a gentleman on in July. It was called Christmas in July. Literally, he heads up a group here where they start to adopt families, needy families, for Christmas gifts for the kids and such. It's not too early for people to start planning make their holiday plans, although they go, what? We just had Labor Day.
Right.
But you have I'd love you to talk about the season pass that you have, because it's a tremendous value.
It really is. We have a season pass that what is different than most subscriptions you would buy at DPAC or the other places. Our season subscription is basically a season pass. So you can buy a 7-show package for $175 and use the tickets in any form and manner that you want. So if you wanted to give them as a Christmas gift, you could buy a season pass and give them as a Christmas gift, and they could use them for the subsequent 4 shows that are left in our season. Or you could buy a pass and use 1 ticket for each of the 7 shows, or you can use them 3 for this show, 4 for that show, however you'd like to use them.
So let me ask you a question, because there's not a bad seat in the theater.
Not one.
There's not a nosebleed section. No matter where you sit, you're such an intimate Are these, is this seat come first serve? How do you seat people?
Oh, it's reserved seating. So
Reserved
you can actually go online. We use a ticketing process called Vendini that you can actually go and choose your own seat. So you can go into the computer and click on the seats that you want to sit, and you can sit there every single show that you'd like to, as long as the ticket seats are available. But if you have a season pass, and Anna's really great about knowing our subscribers and knowing the people who've come to our shows, that they want to sit in the same seats each time, and she always makes sure that they're there in those same seats every time.
So a season pass for $178 is for one person for 7 shows.
That's 7 shows. So that's 7
Multiply
tickets.
that by 2, and you have gifts you can give out. I mean, there's
correct. We also have a student package, which is basically $17 a ticket, and that's $105 for 7 shows. So if you have kids, for $105, you can take your children to the shows as well. And so what I did with my large family that's coming, I bought a season package for Oliver, because they're all coming to Oliver, and I'm using that for Oliver. But it's amazing that but our season package finishes. We stop selling those at the end of September. So
is that right?
Yes. So if you want to jump on this chance, you have to jump on it now. So
And you do save 20%
20% per ticket.
And they can be used if you want to use all of your tickets, because I know you love Steel Magnolia.
Yes.
I do.
You could buy a 7 pass now and come and see it 7 times.
7 times.
That's we talked before the show. That's one of the productions you're going to be doing this year.
Correct.
We'll talk about that, but let's.
But we also have a 4 package as well, so you don't have to buy all 7. You could just buy a 4-pack, and that's $108.
And all of this information is on the website.
All on the website. If you go on the website and put under season tickets, click on season tickets, you'll see there at templeshows.com.
Okay. A couple of weeks ago, we had Jeff Cutler on, and the director of the Sunrise Theater, Mary Beth, and they talked about a collaboration that you guys are doing, where you're extending your arm through the county, where the Sunrise will actually, you're going to feature the Steel Magnolias after it's run at the Temple Theater in March.
In April, yeah. So it'll be at the Sunrise April 3rd through the 5th.
It's great.
And it's actually the second show that really Hoagie Carmichael is also a co-production. So let me just run through getting up to Steel Magnolias. At Christmas, we have had such success with the Church Basement Ladies. They have a series of 5 different shows at this point. And we're up to their 3rd installment, and it just happens to be a Christmas show, and it's called The Church Basement Ladies Away in the Basement. And literally all these shows have set box office records. And talk about escapism. It's just good, clean comedy. These are wonderful ladies to spend a couple hours with. And so we're doing that for the holidays. In January, we're doing a co-production of a more contemporary show called The Last 5 Years, which the music is by Jason Robert Brown, who has sort of been heralded as the Sondheim of his generation.
Okay.
His music is very complex. And this show has an interesting twist. It's a 2-person show, and it's about love, relationships, and it's about their relationship, their marriage. But one of them starts at the beginning of the relationship when they first meet, and one of them starts at the end of the relationship when they're divorced. And they only actually meet in the middle at the wedding. So the rest of the times it's sort of soliloquies and asides.
Yeah.
It's just a really fascinating show and really cool music. So I hope people come out in January to see that. Then we have the world premiere of Jason Petty's new show called Every Song Tells a Story in February for Valentine's Day. If you've seen a Jason Petty show, he is, in my humble opinion, the best musical storyteller that I've ever seen. He just brings these songs to life. He tells backstory. Again, live band from Nashville to accompany him, and he's just fantastic. Then we are doing one of your favorites, Steel Magnolias, which is we are bringing down here to the Sunrise, April 3rd through the 5th. And again, I really think extending collaborations with Hoagie Carmichael in New York, with this production company in Asheboro, Rhino Leap, that we're doing Last 5 Years with the Sunrise. I truly believe theater should be for everybody and for every community. And the more we can do to kind of help other theaters get a step up, I'm all for it, because everybody wins in the end. We all rise together. Yeah. So I'm excited to bring Steel Magnolias down here to the Sunrise.
For people who saw the movie Steel Magnolias, I would urge them, please go see the Broadway production that you're going to be recreating.
I think there's more heart to it,
Oh
because
my
it
gosh.
really focuses on the women and
Correct.
their story and the trials and tribulations of every age in a woman's life.
Yeah, people
it's
don't
just-
realize that Steel Magnolias, the play, was only shot inside the beauty salon.
Right.
Yeah, it
That was
takes place
it.
in the beauty salon.
One
and,
set.
And it's actually a true story. It was a brother who wrote the play based on
that's
the life
correct.
of his sister, and
correct.
it's sort of his love letter to his sister.
And he is sort of well known.
Yes.
He has done a TV show, Bloopers or something.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it was a love letter to his sister. Mm-hmm. But the thing that was so fascinating to me was I was so disappointed when I saw the movie, because even though they cast, well-known actors, I didn't need all that information. I didn't need to have them come to life. I preferred to listen to the women speak about the men and then form my own opinions.
Well, and that's what's so great about theater is the fact that it makes you use your imagination of certain things. Like
Right.
you don't always. I think sometimes when we get to a point in theater when they put too much stuff on stage or too
Right.
many sets, there's something really exciting about an audience member who gets to imagine what that
Right.
person looks like, and they can speak about it, and it's because of the way they speak about that person that you have that image in your head.
And I always say that theater is a sport, and I go one step further and say it's actually a contact sport, because the audience is 50% of our equation.
Right.
Correct.
The feedback that the actors get, and it is a give and take. If the audience is with you in a show as a performer, the energy is different. The whole room is changed. And that's the beauty of it. It's different than watching a movie. It's different than watching your TV. It's different than seeing something on your phone. The more you invest, the more you engage, the more you use your own creativity and your own energy, the better the experience is for everybody in the room.
I want to give you the picture that I have. It's framed with the original cast members. The Lucille Lortel Theater is a historic theater in New York City. The feeling when you walked in, it was never on Broadway. It was off Broadway. You thought you were in a museum. You thought you were in an icon, and it's no different than the Temple Theater. But the women who were cast as the parts in the play, you can tell by looking at the picture that I'm going to give to you, and you can put it out or whatever. You can tell why Shirley MacLaine was Weezer. You can tell why Olympia Dukakis was the mayor's wife. You can understand Sally Field's character or Julia Roberts' character. It was physically there was a definite attraction. I mean, they were very similar, and I loved the women who were cast in the movie. I just hated that it was taken out into the fields, and
Right.
you looked at the pie, the red velvet cake. You didn't need to see it.
Yeah.
You just
Right.
need to talk about it.
Yeah.
But that I want you to at least.
No, I'd love to see it.
I'm gonna loan it to you.
That'd be great.
And you'll return it to me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, because it's on my fireplace, and I still 1993, seeing it 9 times. I loved it.
That's
It was
neat.
great.
And then we're ending the season with another girl power show,
Yep.
Mamma Mia.
Yep.
So again, I really wanted this season to be a mixture of world premieres, regional premieres, big splashy musicals, smaller, more introspective offerings. And I think really, once again, we have something for everyone. We have, from country music to Hoagie Carmichael music to contemporary musical theater to classic music theater, and then even more with Mamma Mia, which is all music all the time.
Right.
And talk about just fun escapism. But there's a real lesson in there, as the women in Steel Magnolias, the women in Mamma Mia grow, all of them.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting journey told musically. And I think this whole season, again, we have more dancing, more singing, more live music, and really something for everyone this year.
Yeah. Are you still continuing going forward with your camps, your student? Because you guys throw a lot of really good nets out there in your off season, where you've got kids coming in from Lee County and Moore County.
We do. We had our summer conservatory this year where we had about 300 kids over the course of 10 weeks come through, and they did 2 productions of Frozen. We had Schoolhouse Rock, Band Geeks. We did 12th Night, which we had a wonderful director come in who actually worked. He created Rhino Lee Productions. He came in and worked with the kids. But we also have our conservatory classes during the fall and spring, and we also have our Temple Teens, which is a performing troupe that goes out into the community and performs at different events.
And I believe 4 of our Temple Teens this year are from Moore County.
Are from Moore County.
Yeah.
And many of the kids in Oliver are from Moore County, including Noe Congus, who's from Moore County, who's one of our Olivers. And we just started academy classes this past week, so there's still time to join those. And again, we'll offer them again in the spring.
Yeah. The Temple Theater and Moore County, their relationship to me is sort of like a piece of paper where you fold it over and you fold it back. They're so connected and networked, and it's sort of all become one. And if you put an umbrella up over our area has, a 25, 30-mile radius. In the Temple, in the years that you've been on the show, I sense and I see a larger presence for the Temple Theater, and more people in Moore County are becoming not only aware but supporting. They have season ticket holders.
Oh, yes.
All different ages.
Right, and quite a few. And we've had and still have board members from Moore County. We have these great other programs for people if you want to get more involved. We have just formed recently the Temple Theater Guild,
Right.
which we call the Worker Bees. So if you are a worker bee and want to really make a difference, because we can certainly use all the help we can get in feeding the actors, doing the actors' welcome packages, numerous other duties behind the scenes, the Temple Guild is the place for you. We have the Temple Theater Ambassadors, and that's where we have a huge following in Moore County. And that is a program where the second Tuesday of every rehearsal process, you're invited to come to the Temple for a catered cocktail hour, for a mix and mingle. You get to meet the entire cast and the creative team.
Cool.
And then you're invited to watch part of the rehearsal so you can sort of see what it's like in the beginning.
Right.
And then when you come back and see the finished product, typically every show I get ambassadors who come up and say, I don't know how you got from point A to point B, but it's amazing. And then they are charged with going out. They get free tickets for opening night to go out in the community and spread the word and give those tickets to people who haven't been to the Temple or who can't afford to come to the Temple. Because I really feel once people come once and see the quality of our work and the professionalism of our work, that they come back.
Yeah.
So that's the ambassador program. And then, of course, we have our Temple Theater Board, where I'm always looking for members who are able to either get or give financially, because as a nonprofit, again, we rely on donors
Right.
and grants and corporate support.
Right.
So there are a lot of ways behind the scenes to get involved in the Temple as well.
Right. Yeah, I love what you guys are doing, and I love the support that seems to be happening here. I mean, Temple has become part of my. I don't know who called me last week, but I knew it was September, and I knew it was that time of the year, and it's good because I think it's really important to participate and to to help provide whatever little bit, because it doesn't matter any contribution from any of the patrons.
Every size of contribution
valuable.
is valuable to us because we are a nonprofit organization, and unlike the touring shows that you see coming through town, which are for-profit, Broadway is a for-profit theater.
Yeah.
We're nonprofit, and we rely on the support of individual gifts from wonderful people like you, along with corporate gifts and foundations. That's how we survive on a regular basis to continue bringing wonderful entertainment.
And something people don't realize is that as a business economically, last season, if going by Arts NC and Arts Access and other arts organizations who track this kind of thing, they say these days that every dollar that's spent at a live theater, $9 goes into the local economy. So last year we contributed over $4 million to the economy of Sanford and Lee County, which that alone is huge. We bring in people from 63 different counties of North Carolina, plus South Carolina and Virginia. But I think one of the most important facts is that we hired over 250 artists last year, and most of those are from North Carolina.
Correct.
So actors, technicians, designers, directors, choreographers, and everybody gets paid. It's a pittance, believe me, but everybody gets paid. Everybody's art is respected,
Right.
And just to be able to offer those contracts is brings my heart the biggest joy.
You read my mind, because I was going to ask you as a closing question, have you been able to quantify how many people in a year you've hired?
Mm-hmm.
And you just said over 250.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you're right. You do it for the art and the love, and yes, everyone gets paid, but no one is going to retire, right?
Not this week.
That's right. But what you're doing at the Temple Theater is great. The seeds are sown every year, and your reach is getting broader. And I hope more people this year discover the Temple Theater, and all the people that have been supporting it continue to do so.
That is my wish as well.
Yeah. Great to have you on, Gavin. It's great to meet you.
Great to meet you as well.
And we'll see you at the Temple, and I am going to get you that picture of Steel Magnolias.
Excellent.
And
Thank you, Bill.
You'll go, was that Bill in 1993? He really had all that hair?
Yeah, that's the same with me.
And he was
In 1993, I had hair too.
I had hair. It was dark. Oh, my gosh. And I keep that up there, and I think, that's still what I look like. No, it's not.
No.
Everybody have a great week, and hope to see you at the Temple Theater this upcoming season. Thank you.